flesh, blood, feathers, teeth, or tusks. Some kill them intentionally and some unintentionally. Some kill them because they have been previously injured by them, and some because they expect to be injured. He who harms animals has not understood or renounced deeds of sin. He who understands the nature of sin against animals is called a true sage who understands karma. A man who is averse from harming even the wind knows the sorrow of all living beings. He who knows what is bad for himself knows what is bad for others. And he who knows what is bad for others knows what is bad for himself. This reciprocity should always be borne in mind. I think it's a very interesting position. It kind of puts in words this intuition we always have that, when we see someone else or an animal suffering, we kind of identify ourselves with that suffering, and we have to make an effort sometimes to kill certain animals. I mean, let me ask you a question. How many of you, be honest, okay? How many of you do not feel sorry or have never felt sorry when you were about to kill a roach, just for a second? That you were about to kill, you see it alive, trying to escape from you, and you... How many of you have never felt a little sorry when trying to do that? A few people. Okay, well. I do feel sorry sometimes. I haven't had to kill roaches for a long time now, but years ago there were these kind of brownish roaches in my kitchen when I was in a different apartment when I was a student. And I always found this striking, how these little things ran away when you turn on the light and they're in there. They run away like with what desperation, they hide and run away like they really want to live. That desperation is such a little thing. I mean, you would expect them to look at you and say, hey, kill me, I'm just a roach, no big deal. But it doesn't happen. They want to live as much as we want to live in proportion to what they are, right? It seems like no matter how small or how disgusting the little animal may be, it seems that it wants to live as much as we do in proportion to our size and what we are. And I think that's the kind of intuition that these texts express in words. Now when I find a roach, I don't kill it anymore. What I do is I take a piece of tissue and grab it with a tissue and drop it by neighbor's door. A snake? So anyway, that's as far as Jainism. In the Western tradition, Judaism and Christianity and Islam. Well, let me say a few words about Judaism and Christianity. In Judaism, there is indeed animal sacrifice in the ancient Israel, in the Old Testament. The interpretation that has been given to animal sacrifice by animal rights activists who deal with these religious perspectives is that in reality, since all life belongs to God, God may claim animal life at some point in the form of sacrifice, but that's reclaiming what belongs to him. On the other hand, we see that animals do play an important role in the Old Testament. There is this dream in the prophets of animals one day living at peace with each other and with humans. And in Genesis, we are told that man was given dominion over the animals. And with this, I make the transition to Christianity. In Christianity, a major figure in the field of the religious perspectives of animal rights is Andrew Lindsay, the author of the book, what's it called? Creatures of the Same God. The book, Creatures of the Same God, okay? That you need to read this semester. So this may not apply for future semesters, but this semester the reading is this book, Creatures of the Same God by Andrew Lindsay. It may apply for future semesters, it might not. So I'm just making this remark. But if you're watching this tape in future semesters, make sure you look at your readings, okay? Don't go by what I say here. Now, Andrew Lindsay is an Anglican priest, and he has written profusely on animal rights, so he writes from the Christian perspective. Let me just mention two of his central ideas. One is that the word dominion in Genesis, in the first book of the Bible, has to be understood properly. It doesn't really mean we can do anything we want to animals. We are also given dominion over our children. And it doesn't mean we can kill our children or abuse them or mistreat them. In reality, dominion means stewardship, taking care of. So we have to take care of nature and we have to take care of animals. That's what our dominion really means over nature and animals. But it has been misinterpreted in the past. Andrew Lindsay also has developed this idea of theos, the theos rights of animals. Theos as in God, T-H-E-O-S, theos, which in Greek means God. And it is actually an indirect duty view, a religious indirect duty view of animals. What he says is, all life belongs to God. All forms of life belong to God, animal life and human life. So you are not supposed to hurt animals, to abuse them, to mistreat them, not because they have any right in themselves, but because they belong to God. So by mistreating animals, by killing them unnecessarily, you are actually violating God's rights to his possessions, to his creation. That is Andrew Lindsay's position. We can't really get too much into the religious views of animals, animal theology, so to say, in this lecture today. You will have to read a little bit of this, a little bit more on your own. But let me say that animal theology poses a number of problems for Christian theology. For example, the fact that why is there suffering in animal life if they did not partake in original sin? How come animals were suffering already on earth before humans came to earth? Well, there are explanations for this, clear explanations, or at least attempts to explain these issues in animal theology, and you will have to read about them, okay? Okay, now let me say a few words about the Catholic tradition in general and the Orthodox tradition. Just a very brief statement on each of them. In the Catholic tradition, there is this Franciscan sub-tradition, starting with St. Francis of Assisi. He's a medieval monk and saint of the Catholic Church who expressed always this great care for animal life and plants and everything. He addressed animals as brothers and sisters, and that kind of started the line of care for animals and blessing of animals in the Catholic tradition. I just want to mention that. And then in the Orthodox with a capital O in Eastern Europe, in the Orthodox tradition, there is this idea of cosmic redemption. The idea that at the end of time, when the world is reconstituted, recreated in a perfected form, in a glorious form, it won't be just humans who are resurrected. It will be all of the creation, all of God's creation, all of animals and plants, and everything will be recreated anew in a glorious form. Okay? So we call that cosmic creation, cosmic redemption, I'm sorry. That's all I want to say for the religious views of animals. As I said, you will have to expand on this through your readings. Let me say a few words to finish today about animal experimentation, an issue on which you will have to expand as well by viewing a documentary online this semester. Again, this applies to the current semester. For future semesters, the assignment may be the same, or there may be other assignments. Right? So let me say a few words about animal experimentation. Animal experimentation is presented to us as the epitome of science and scientific research. It's the highest thing, highest representation of science. You see a little mouse running up and down in this roll and all of this at the laboratory. Well, let me introduce a question mark in here. Is this truly science? What do we call the experimental method? well, this notion of the experimental